Here's Barbara.
Okay. Well, Steve and I, trade off on Monday nights, and we decided that, we've been focusing on Shaklee 180 in January and February because it's such an exciting new line that Shaklee has introduced, and so we've wanted to add kind of topics that are associated with that, and certainly digestive issues is one of them, because many folks who carry extra weight or whose health is tenuous, digestion is a major cause of that. And when we get our digestion in a healthy place, the body really improves. And so this is just kind of an overview of some of the issues that affect folks digestively. Acid reflux is very common, GERD, irritable bowel disease, inflammatory bowel disease, which is more serious and increasingly common, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, burping, and belching. This is all very, very common. And it's helpful for me to think about the digestive tract in kind of two parts. So there's sort of that upper digestive part, which is your stomach, and that's where the acid reflux occurs. That's where people get ulcers or they get queasy and nauseous, and sometimes they will have bloating there after they've eaten, or they're uncomfortable or have indigestion. But it's a lot of the population. We're talking about 25 to 30% of the population. And it is expensive. The medications, the doctors have lost work. This is, what is curious to me also is that I was just talking to a friend who has this issue, and she was given very little instruction at all from the medical people, never even discussed with her diet. Just amazing to me. And the reason that this is important to be aware of is that acid is in the stomach for a reason. It's important. It kills bacteria, a lot of which enters the body through our mouth. So it first dumps down into this hydrochloric acid, and it kills all the bad stuff. And it controls the proper acid-alkaline balance. We call that pH, for friendly bacteria to thrive and bad bacteria to die. I mean, the body is fascinating how it has put together these systems. And whereas your stomach is very acid, then the small intestine that it passes through next is very alkaline, and then back to the colon, which is very acid again. I mean, it's just fascinating how the body has evolved to protect us. And the stomach begins the process of breaking down our food, especially proteins, with that acid in that stomach. And if food is not properly broken down there in the stomach, it becomes a toxin, it irritates the lining of the digestive tract, and it causes inflammation. And that's not only painful, it is bad for our health. And so all these different proton pump acid suppressing medications have been developed, Nexium and Prilosec and others, but they come, as all medications do, with side effects. Constipation, diarrhea, drowsiness, dry mouth, headache, nausea, pain, swelling, redness, rash, itching, difficulty breathing, hives, severe stomach pain, swelling of face, lips, tongue, or throat, unusual tiredness, bruising, bleeding, unusual hoarseness, bone pain, dark urine, fast heartbeat, tightness in chest. I mean, it's not, so that's the upper digestive tract. We'll come back and tell you some other things you can do about avoiding those side effects. But then there's the lower digestive tract, and that's down in the intestines that loop around back and forth. There's about 26 feet of them in the intestines. And then you have the colon that goes, the upper ascending colon, and the transverse colon goes across the top, and then the descending colon comes down. And that's where people get a lot of inflammation and irritability. Irritable bowel syndrome is very common. This says 5 million, but I think that number is higher now. Inflammatory bowel diseases that affect several million, constipation, diarrhea, and And I might mention here that, when you have all this inflammation and irritation in those intestines, omega guard is a natural anti-inflammatory. Well, there are 4 key functions of probiotics in the lower intestines, and I'm a big probiotic advocate. 80% of our immune system is in that gut. And one of the things Steve told me, we do these sessions jointly occasionally, and he was telling me that even, in the top 4 most heavily prescribed medications in the United States, number 1, I think, is statin drugs, but in the top 4, I just don't know the exact order, are antidepressants. And interestingly, there are these neurotransmitters that, are the way our thoughts and our nerve impulses are passed along. And I assumed they would all be in the brain, where all the nerve impulses, begin, all of that. And he said, no, actually 60% are in the brain, but 40% are down here in the gut. And so when we mess up our guts, and we do because we eat such horrible things in the United States, when we mess up our gut, it not only affects our digestion, it affects our immune system, and it affects our thinking, our behavior, our ability to concentrate, our moods, our depression, all of that is connected. So we've got to start taking better care of our intestines, starting with what we put in them. So probiotics are these wonderful microflora that nature has given us, and they strengthen the immune system, and they maintain a healthy lining in that gut to prevent parasites and toxins from entering into the bloodstream when you have a healthy lining to the gut. But when we eat a lot of processed foods, when we eat a lot of sugar, a lot of wheat, a lot of gluten, a lot of grains, when we take a lot of antibiotics and medications that cause an overgrowth of candida yeast, and they attach themselves to the walls of the intestines, and they weaken them, and they cause leaky gut, well, then the toxins that are in the intestinal tract migrate through that damaged wall and into the bloodstream. And where they float away to in the bloodstream, that's when you could have a lot of problems, major cause of headaches, major cause of migraines, and any place in the body where they go, but a lot of depression, often very connected to that. And these probiotics enhance the detoxification of heavy metals, and it's a way to get them out of the body, but they also produce some very important vitamins. This is why antibiotics can cause vitamin deficiencies, because they wipe all that out. So how do you take care of your gut? Well, you begin by feeding it some good, healthy, whole, natural, real food, what nature intended for us. And Michael Pollan is an author I often like to refer to because he's written several books. The first one was Omnivore's Dilemma, and then he wrote In Defense of Food. And his last book was called Food Rules. He's a professor at University of California in Berkeley. And his food rules are, number 1, eat food, meaning real food that grows out of the ground that nature gave us. Not too much, and mostly from plants. And what he said, what you don't want to eat is all that fried, processed, unnatural stuff that there, you can see on that tray. There's nothing there that, oh, maybe that was an onion ring, maybe there was an onion that I guess you could say was natural at some point, and the potatoes, but it's all been fried and processed and coated in salts and sugars. And interesting that this past week in the New York Times Sunday magazine, there was a fascinating article in there by Michael Moss, the man who wrote a book called Sugar, Fat, sugar, salt, and fat. Where did I put that? I should tell you here it is. It was fascinating, and it was about the food industry and all the stuff that they do to us. It says, inside the hyper-engineered, savagely marketed, addiction-creating battle for the American stomach share. And he has a quote. He interviewed people from inside the food industry, and he quotes this man who was a chief scientist for Frito-Lay named Robert Lynn, who says, I feel so sorry for the public because they're not only have the food industry learned how to incorporate sugar, salt, and fat into these foods so that we become addicted to them, but in addition to that, they have a very sophisticated system to learn how to have a satisfying crunch or a pleasing mouthfeel. And all of that creates a food designed to addict, he says, by Michael Moss. If you can get a hold of that article, it is really fabulous. And basically he quotes one of the CEOs who says, don't talk to me about nutrition, talk to me about taste. And so it's alarming that this is how corrupted our food supply has become. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a fascinating study that Shaklee conducted. It was actually an independent study from Shaklee about Shaklee's Vivix product, the amazing resveratrol product with all the polyphenols in it that repairs and protects damaged cells. But there was something interesting that came out of that study to me, because they fed two groups of students high-fat breakfast from a fast food restaurant. It was 900 calories. I don't even know. I didn't get 900 calories in one meal, but they managed to do it. It was like a sausage, cheese, egg muffin kind of thing, and it had some fried potatoes or something with it. Anyway, what was fascinating then is they then monitored what these foods did to the cells of these people who ate it. And then group 2 took Vivix right after they ate it, and Vivix fixed everything. But what was fascinating to me was the amount of damage that fast food, high-fat meal had done to these poor cells. Caused tremendous inflammation. It caused, the worst thing a scientist can say about your cells is that it created oxidative stress inside the cells, which means there was, damage to all the components of the cells, to the DNA, to the mitochondria, to all these key parts. And so Vivix then, helped to begin activating these longevity genes and repairing these damaged cells. But what is interesting to me is that nature has given us the abundance of all those vegetables, all those fruits, all those natural berries and seeds and nuts and so forth that we find. They are full of antioxidants that protect our cells. But note, they aren't in meat. There aren't antioxidants in dairy. They aren't in cookies. They are primarily in the natural foods that grow from the earth, the vegetables and the fruits. This is the stuff we must avoid because it does terrible damage to the digestive system. The sugars, the wheat, the baked goods, the processed foods, the high fat, the fried food, soda pop is one of the worst. But even medications, these all are very damaging. So, 6 factors that cause an unhealthy gut. Number 1, antibiotics. And it's one thing to have them prescribed by a medical doctor, but even if you weren't taking antibiotics, you're getting plenty of antibiotics. Unless you're eating purely organic food, you're going to be getting it in your meat, in your dairy, and your poultry. A lack of probiotics, of these natural little what we call friendly bacteria that need to need to reside in our gut, but they're very fragile, and lots of things kill them off. We got to avoid acid suppressing medications. They do a lot of damage, as you saw earlier, to the gut, and they damage that little valve at the bottom of our esophagus when food is dropping into the stomach, so that it gets lazy, and then the acid starts to bubble up into our esophagus. That's very painful, but it's also very dangerous. Undigested and partially digested foods, especially protein, can cause a lot of problems in the gut. And this is why it's important for us to take care of our pancreas that makes digestive enzymes. But most of us wear our pancreas out because we eat so many carbs, so much sugar, so many refined foods that poor pancreas just gets exhausted from trying to produce all of the insulin. And then there's environmental toxins, water, air cleaning products, and so forth. And then age. Just as we age, bifido probiotics alone decline dramatically after age 50. Now, you are probably aware that many people now have developed gluten sensitivities and celiac disease. And there are a lot of theories about this. Some of you have read Wheat Belly by William Davis, who is a medical doctor. He attributes a lot of the digestive issues that people have to our highly hybridized grains and wheat, and they're almost all genetically modified. Gluten is found in most grains, but especially wheat and oats and barley. If you think about when you make oatmeal, you know how as you stir it, it gets real gloppy. Well, that stuff is all the gluten in it. It's sticky. People with sensitivity develop antibodies to the byproducts that are produced when gluten breaks down. And that causes inflammation. And then that little picture there are these little bumps in the lining of our intestinal tract. They're called villi, but you see how they increase the surface of the intestinal tract so you can absorb more than if that was just flat across. But one of the things that gluten does is it smushes them down. So you lose a tremendous amount of absorption ability. And then that allows bacteria and partially digested products to get into the bloodstream, and that causes more inflammation. Celiac affects 1 out of 100 people, and they say 1 out of 4,000 are the only ones who are ever diagnosed. So enter Shaklee products for healthy digestion, and I wanted to review these tonight because there are many folks who are going to start on the Shaklee 180 program who are ready to get healthier, to eat better, to change their lifestyle and lose some of the fat and strengthen their muscles. And boy, these products can be very helpful. I really think everybody benefits from that Optiflora probiotic. I'll show you that in some detail. But EasyGest is an amazing, comprehensive digestive enzyme. And people who feel bloated after they eat or have indigestion or are uncomfortable, EasyGest is an excellent product because it provides the digestive enzymes that their body may not be producing well. Although as they start to heal, as they start to take the supplements and each cell starts getting healthier in the lining of their intestines and their pancreas and so on, they may not need that product every single day, but initially they might, because it's very important to get all that food digested. Partially digested food is a big problem for the digestive tract. Fiber is fantastic, and those fiber advantage bars are so delicious. I'll show you those in a second. Stomach soothing complex for people who get queasy. Herblax and alfalfa. So let's look at them individually. First of all, Optiflora. It's the most amazing probiotic. It's a teeny tiny little pearl, little capsule the size of a pearl, so it's easy for anyone to swallow it. But we are constantly exposed to bad bacteria and yeast in the food we eat. Antibiotics wipe out the good bacteria, and then you start developing this candida overgrowth, which weakens the immune system and causes gas and bloating and diarrhea and irritable bowel and acid reflux and allergies. All of those things are often associated with candida overgrowth, and Optiflora is the first thing that I would reach for. And this is the Shaklee approach to this. A researcher in Shaklee told me that it was the single most requested product for 10 years before they came out with it, because they wouldn't produce it until they could guarantee live delivery of those fragile, critical probiotics to the large intestine. And so technology finally developed to the point that they could create this triple layer around the outside of that capsule to protect the very fragile probiotics as they pass through the stomach acids. Really terrific. And this is one of the reasons why Vitalizer includes Optiflora, as they only had room for 6 tablets in the Vitalizer strip, this wonderful daily strip of 80 nutrients that has become the #1 top-selling product in Shaklee. And by the way, for those of you who are new, this is what we start everybody on when they begin a program with Shaklee. #1, because it gives them a free membership, but because it with fish oils and a multivitamin and some vitamin C and B vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. It's so complete. It's a wonderful product. Now with 1,200 units of vitamin D, has a powerful antioxidant spectrum. It has anti-aging nutrients and all 7 of the omega-3 fatty acids to reduce inflammation. So that's the Optiflora. Then we go to EasyGest because this is so complete. It has each of the digestive enzymes needed to break down all the different food groups. So from fats and carbohydrates and proteins, it has all the different enzymes needed to break those down. And let's see, vegetarian capsule. I think I covered that one before. That's a great product. And then there's the whole issue of fiber. Fewer than 5% of adults consume the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables, and only 2% of children. I'm surprised it's that high. The National Institutes of Health recommends 25 to 30 grams a day. And considering that, oops, I went too fast. Considering that an apple has just 3 grams of fiber in it, you can see how hard it is to get that 25 to 30 grams a day of fiber. But look at all the benefits of it. It lowers the bad cholesterol. It normalizes blood sugar levels. It promotes regularity in the colon, and it eliminates toxins. And fiber, by the way, is a very important part of weight loss program. And the Shaklee 180, the smoothies in Shaklee 180 have 6 grams of fiber in them, and all the bars have it in it too. And I loved what Merle Gernon said a few weeks back, who had lost 85 pounds on the Shaklee 180, and she said, you never let yourself get hungry. Which means your blood sugar is dropping, and that's the role of fiber and protein. And so that's why we recommend, when you're on the Shaklee 180 program, to be eating somewhere between 6, 8, 9 vegetables a day, because not only of all the wonderful antioxidants that they provide, but the fiber that they provide as well. And then when you can't, though, conveniently have those fresh vegetables, we've got this great fiber advantage bars. This is a bar that I think people don't know much about, and it is fabulous. It has 8 grams of fiber. That's equivalent to eating almost 3 apples. And it tastes great. And when you read the ingredient labels, it sounds like a salad. It's got, carrots and dates and apples and all kinds of natural things in it. no saturated fats, no trans fats. It's low glycemic, it's gluten-free, all the news is good, and it's delicious besides. Then there's stomach soothing complex, and boy, people who have stomach issues love this product. It's made with peppermint and ginger and a few other herbs, fennel and anise, that soothe and calm the stomach. It is great for people who have motion sickness if you're taking car trips or seasickness or morning sickness. But even some medications like chemotherapy or after surgery, it's just so soothing without having to use more of the drugs, the anti-nausea drugs. It's antiviral, anti-candida, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and inhibits diarrhea, stimulates the gallbladder and the liver, aids in irritable bowel symptoms. It's very good. And then there's Herblax. And, Dr. Shackley used to recommend that when people started a supplement program to always begin by taking Herblax, just 1 or 2 a night for about 30 days to cleanse the colon and cleanse the blood, and it does it so gently. People still love this product. So it improves regularity, reduces body odor, it improves acne, often connected to a congested intestine, relieves constipation, it helps detoxify, and many headaches are caused because we're retaining toxins too long in the intestines and we have too slow of a transit time. And then there's alfalfa, used since the time of the Egyptians to aid digestion and soothe queasy stomachs. But alfalfa has a number of properties. Many people take it for arthritis. It has natural anti-inflammatory properties. It's like a natural decongestant, a natural antihistamine. So when our children were little, we didn't have all the wonderful array of children's products we have today, so we would give our kids alfalfa, and we still do that today. We give it to our grandson, and within a few minutes after taking alfalfa, and they just chew it up. They chew it up like peas, and he's almost 2 now, and he loves them. But it's it helps them breathe. It just helps open up their passage. People with allergies love them too, sinus issues, gout. But alfalfa is very soothing to the stomach. So people who have a lot of stomach issues, sometimes they're tiny little tablets. Sometimes they'll take 2 or 3 with a meal, and it's very soothing for them, and it helps them digest better. So there is our collection of Shackley products for a healthy digestion. Optiflora, the probiotic, Easy Gest for the comprehensive digestive enzymes, fiber advantage bars, stomach soothing complex, Herblax, and alfalfa. And that's a wrap.